First, we'll be going to Utah, where a courtroom turned into a crime scene. Sayal Angelo, the man you can see running across the room, was charged with racketeering, robbery, weapons offenses, and assault. These charges were part of a 2010 indictment with 17 other people who were all allegedly affiliated with the Tongan Crip gang. The court proceedings took a wrong turn when Angelo stood up and grabbed a pen and a mechanical pencil and wanted to attack a witness. However, in a dramatic turn of events, a U.S. Marshal shoots him. Angelo dies, and due to the dramatic nature of the video, the public wasn't allowed to see it until a judge ruled that it should be made public. Here's what former U.S. Attorney Brett Toolman had to say.
There's no question, though, you can turn a pen into a knife, or its equivalent. You can take somebody's life with it.
People had conflicting opinions on what the U.S. Marshal should have done in that situation.
It's easy if you slow down the video to maybe argue or suggest that there was enough time to do something different. When you watch it live, it's very hard to see that anything different could have occurred.
And just like that, the court case of Sayal Angelo ends with the biggest sentence of them all: death. This next case takes place all the way in Moscow, Russia. Leonid Grazer is on trial for murdering his sister. His defense? Satan told him. Grazer was kept in a glass box due to the dangerous crime he was part of. But that didn't stop this man from trying to leave the box. The security tries to calm him down, but Grazer is bent on escaping that prison. He somehow got on top of the box and tried to escape. Grazer is relentless, and the officers even call for backup and use tasers on him. Grazer is finally caught and sentenced to mandatory psychiatric medical treatment. Next up, we have Franklin Williams in the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court, who is charged with aggravated robbery, 2 counts of theft, misuse of credit cards, and weapons possession. Williams had quite a lot on his plate and was waiting for sentencing, but he kept interrupting the judge. The judge wasn't having it.
Mr. Williams, I'm the judge in the matter. Shut your mouth, and I'll tell you when you can talk.
But Williams didn't know when to stop and kept interrupting the judge.
I'm going to hear from your lawyers, and that means zip it.
But you're not letting me.
That means zip it right now.
You trying to?
Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't.
Williams didn't stop talking and kept interrupting the judge, thus causing the judge to gag him.
I'm going to tape it, and then I'll unzip it when I want you to talk.
The judge orders the court officials to tape his mouth. He warns the defendant not to injure any of the deputies. As the tape goes on Williams' mouth, he says, "It is what it is." The judge later apologizes for the tape incident and recuses himself from the case. The new judge sentences Williams to 33 years in prison. Next is the trial of Lucas Kendall in Miami-Dade County Criminal Court. Kendall was accused of shooting 2 men outside a club. He was formally charged with murder and attempted second-degree murder. During the court proceeding, Donald Bird, the father of Keywan Bird, made sure Lucas Kendall understood his pain. This was because the defendant's lawyer had tried to stop Kendall from going to jail on mental health grounds.
He's in prison, man. Come on, sir. He want to play crazy. He wasn't crazy when he murdered my son, man. He wasn't crazy then, but he crazy now. All of a sudden, he crazy now. You want to lay in a mental hospital? You done murdered my son, man, for nothing? When he was trying to get away from you. You trying to get away from you, man.
Donald is guided out of the court as he still shouts in protest. Lucas Kendall tries to use the stand your ground defense in his favor, but it doesn't work. He was given a life sentence. The next case is a little different. We will focus on Judge Nancy Margaret Russo, a judge in Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court in Ohio. Larissa Rodriguez and her boyfriend, Christopher Rodriguez, were accused of killing their 5-year-old son and burying him in their backyard. There were signs of abuse and neglect on their son's body. As the judge sentences them, she fights hard not to tear up.
The other thing that this case, I think, really drives home is that there is insufficient consideration given to the people that work in the criminal justice system. And I look at these photographs, and it's very hard. And I think you should be recognized more for the difficulty of what you do. And the same to the state. And to the defense, this is equally difficult for you. I know as a judge I'm not supposed to show emotion. And in 22 years, I never have. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. Whatever this child's life was supposed to be, you make sure it didn't happen.
Christopher Rodriguez is sentenced to 28 years in prison, and Larissa Rodriguez is sentenced to 25 years in prison. Next, we'll be going down to the Clark County District Court in Las Vegas, where Michael McDonald's was accused of violating the terms of his parole. Michael McDonald's is no stranger to the court. He had been released on bond on charges related to forgery, burglary, and perjury. He also had a messy divorce with his ex-wife that ended with his ex-wife getting a no-contact order towards Michael. However, he mailed gifts for his children to his wife. Now, the state is arguing that he violated the no-contact order and parole.
2 gifts, that's it. No nasty notes with them.
But the judge who knows Michael McDonald's history was not buying it.
I would note that back in the family court, he constantly violated orders. He would always insist that the order said something else. I'm not sure that he is capable of controlling himself because he wasn't before. So based upon that, I am granting the motion.
After the judge decides, 2 court marshals approach Michael with handcuffs, but the defendant doesn't go down easily. He starts struggling, leading to a terrible scuffle.
Mike, calm down. Mike, calm down. Relax. Grab. Mike, grab.
I got nothing about this. Don't see my kids. Come on.
Mike, calm down. Take a deep breath.
The scuffle continues so much that his own attorney says, "Mike, put the handcuffs on or I'll put them on myself." More court officers come to restrain Mike, and he's taken out of the court, but not before he picks up another charge of resisting arrest. He was sentenced to 24 to 68 months in prison. Up next, we'll have the case of Michael Madison in East Cleveland, Ohio. This was the court proceeding for Michael Madison, a serial killer who murdered 3 women, Angela Deskins, Shatisha Sheely, and Sheralinda Terry. He was charged with 3 counts of aggravated murder and 3 counts of kidnapping.
You cajoled, lured, and deceived Shatisha Sheely, Angela Deskins, and Sheralinda Terry to your apartment for your depraved purposes. You went on to abuse the corpses of these 3 victims.
As the court proceedings go on, Michael shows absolutely no remorse. But what really made this tragic court case go awry was when Van Terry, father of Sheralinda Terry, was delivering his impact statement.
Right now, I guess we're supposed to, in our hearts, forgive this clown. He's touched our families, taken my child.
Van Terry turns to Madison to look at him in the eye, and Madison smirks. In one swift motion, Van lunges forward and tries to hit Madison. One cannot blame a father for acting the way he did, given the circumstances. Van Terry is restrained and escorted out of the courtroom. Luckily, no charges were pressed against him. Michael Madison, on the other hand, was found guilty and sentenced to death. Up next, we see the peculiar case of Jacob Larson in Jackson, Michigan. Jacob Larson had been stalking his middle school classmate, who he apparently believed was the love of his life. The classmate obviously didn't think so and chose to file a restraining order against Jacob, but he didn't stop and violated that protection order.
I have messages from October 9th after we got out of court, and then I have some from the 23rd.
As the proceeding continues, Jacob becomes increasingly stubborn, refusing to let the judge speak and even accusing the judge of being in cahoots with the girl he was stalking. Meanwhile, the girl doesn't even have him on social media, but things soon took a turn for the worse.
I want her to tell me to leave her alone.
You know what? I told you to leave her alone. And apparently that didn't get through loud and clear. So today, you're going to jail for 3 days.
This is when things get a bit heated.
You had a bad attitude. You had a bad attitude last time you were in court.
You and her are buddy.
45 days county jail.
Oh,
okay. 93 days in the county jail. You want to go for a year? Try it right now. One more word on you, it'll be a year of counting.
Jacob is so stubborn that the judge stands up and orders the security to cuff him. Jacob tries to resist, and that's when the judge takes off his black robe and helps restrain him.
Get your taser right.
Jacob is finally escorted out of the premises to go and serve his 93 days in jail. Up next, let's go to the Volusia County Courthouse in DeLand, Florida. Alan McCarty, the defendant, apparently chose to make death threats against a judge. For some reason, he thought the judge abducted his children. Alan McCarty started the court proceeding by saying that he's not been sworn in. He was being rude to the judge, but that's not the worst of it. He keeps hurling profanities at the judge.
Brought your dress today, you little prick. You wanna take my kids from me and act like that? You in that?
His outbursts become too much, and Alan McCarty is dragged out of the court. He is sentenced to 20 years in prison. Next, we'll go to Jamestown, Kentucky, where Melissa Hardwick was accused of domestic violence by her ex-husband, but those accusations quickly escalated to charges of third-degree terroristic threatening, resisting arrest, and intimidating a participant in the legal process in a short space of minutes. The judge is asking Melissa's ex-husband routine questions, but Melissa keeps interrupting. The judge warns her that she would be held in contempt of court if she continues interruption.
I haven't done anything to this court. I haven't done anything to him.
You'll be arrested for contempt of court. It doesn't make any difference. You will serve 10 days for contempt of court.
Then Melissa lunges across the judge's bench and tries to attack the judge, but the security officers are swift to restrain her.
Get off of me!
Can't find back.
Melissa spends 5 months in jail. She then gets released on the grounds that she goes through a rehabilitation program in anger management. She also has 5 years of probation. Next is the outrageous outburst of Antonio Rosales in Florida. He was accused of raping and assaulting a 10-year-old. As Assistant State Attorney Anna Valentini began delivering her closing arguments, the defendant, Rosales, suddenly interrupted her by raising objections both verbally through a translator and through his actions. During the court proceedings, Antonio is called a child rapist. He takes offense at this. He objects through his translator, saying, "She doesn't know that I did that to that woman," then throws the keyboard and computer on the floor. The security men and deputies tie Antonio up and bundle him out of the courtroom. Calm is restored to the room. He is later found guilty on all counts and is sentenced to 3 life sentences. Up next, we have the case of Kyandria Cook in Dayton Beach, Florida. Kyandria is in court for using a dating app to rob someone. This led to the teen being shot. Luckily, they survived. Kyandria was arrested and charged with carjacking, felony battery, and attempted carjacking with a deadly weapon. Kyandria gives her final statement as she hopes to garner sympathy from the judge. She hopes to get out and get her high school diploma and live a life free from crime. But then, things take a turn after the judge reads out his sentencing.
Ms. Cook, you're before the court for sentencing. A couple of things going in your favor. One, you didn't hold a firearm during these episodes. The second is that the victim luckily survived. That being said, this was intentional. There was an orchestrated ambush, and you are a main part of that. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and adjudicate you guilty of all 3 charges, sentence you to 20 years in state prison.
Kyandria Cook and her mother were not expecting such a large sentence and began seriously crying. Both Kyandria Cook and her mom cry so loudly that they're escorted out of the court. Luckily, 10 months later, the judge reduced the sentence to 11 years after Kyandria Cook entered a new plea deal with the assistant district attorney. Next, we'll be taking a trip to Miami, Florida, at the Miami-Dade Bond Court. This was the hearing of Arthur Booth. He was a known criminal who wasn't new to court proceedings, but this case would be one for the books. He had been charged with grand theft, burglary, reckless driving, resisting arrest, and fleeing. The hearing starts on a normal note, with Judge Glazer reading out Arthur's charges and explaining the terms of his bond. This was when she noticed something familiar about the man on trial.
Mr. Booth, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to Nautilus for middle school?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry to see you there. I always wondered what happened to you, sir.
Oh my goodness.
Arthur obviously could not believe his eyes. The judge presiding over his case was his old middle school classmate. Arthur just kept crying and saying, "Oh my goodness."
The nicest kid in middle school.
Oh my goodness.
He was the best kid in middle school. I used to play football with him, and all the kids, and look what has happened. I'm so sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Arthur, a once promising and brilliant student, tragically turned to a life of crime. Despite his past mistakes, Judge Glazer empathizes with the difficulties Arthur has faced and wishes him well in his future endeavors to live lawfully. However, due to his actions, Arthur has been sentenced to 10 months in prison and required to post a bail of $43,000. Up next, we have Spencer Allen Boston, a self-proclaimed weed activist from Tennessee who is charged with possessing weed and speeding past a traffic spot. Spencer chooses to defend himself and gives a speech about the marijuana laws in Tennessee.
Yes, sir. I think it's very unfair, the marijuana law here. I think we the people deserve better because marijuana is a very harmless drug.
But the judge wasn't having it. For him, the law is the law regardless.
I've heard that baloney all my life, so don't go any further on that.
Yes, sir.
That's why Spencer decides to light one out for himself. The court officer immediately tries to stop him, but not as he tries to give another speech.
Hey, we the people deserve better. Take it to jail. Take it to jail.
You can hear giggles around the court. The judge gives him another charge of disorderly conduct and sends him to jail for 10 days. Next, we'll be looking into the case of Diana Lovejoy, who fainted during her arraignment in court. She was charged with the attempted murder of her husband. Diana had tried to kill her husband, Greg Mulvihill, with the help of another party. Luckily, she was caught, and the attempt failed.
Verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Diana Jean Lovejoy, guilty of the crime of attempted murder of Greg Mulvihill in violation of Penal Code Section 664/187. (1) as charged on count 2.
The judge goes on and continues reading all the sentencing of her co-conspirator, Walton K. David, but before she can finish, a loud thud is heard, and it's Diana fainting.
We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Weldon K. McDavid, guilty of the crime of conspiracy to commit murder.
All right, we're gonna need to take a break.
She's laid on the floor as the court officials try to get a medic on the scene. Diana is finally sentenced to 26 years in the Chowchilla Women's Prison. Next on our list is the 18-year-old Peyton Gendron, who killed 10 people in a predominantly black neighborhood in Buffalo, New York. On the state level, he was charged with 1 count of domestic terrorism in the first degree, 3 counts of attempted second-degree murder as a hate crime, 10 counts of second-degree murder as a hate crime, 10 counts of first-degree murder, and 1 count of second-degree criminal possession of a weapon. As one of the victim's sisters, Barbara Massey, gives her impact statement, you can see a man come beside her. In just a few seconds, he moves to attack Gendron.
You gonna come to our city and decide you don't like black people. Man, you don't know a damn thing about black people. We're human. We like our kids to go to good schools. We love our kids. We never go in no neighborhoods and take people out.
As he tries to attack Gendron, you can hear someone say, "Don't do it." Peyton Gendron is taken out of the courtroom and the man is restrained. Gendron gets sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Next is the case of Tristan Lamoureux in Cedar City, Utah, who was charged with murder for killing his wife. He was also charged with possession of a firearm by a restricted person and fleeing from police. Jason Wilson goes to deliver an impact statement. However, Tristan shows no remorse and Jason's emotions are high, so he tries to attack the defendant. As Jason lunges to attack Tristan, an official slams Tristan to the ground to protect him and another holds Jason back. Both Jason and Tristan are restrained. Jason apologizes to the court and gets escorted out. As for Mr. Lamoureux's sentencing, he is given 15 years to life in prison. Next is the inspiring story of forgiveness in Fayette Circuit Court in Kentucky. Trey Relford was accused of armed robbery, murder, and tampering with evidence. But the most beautiful thing happened during the court proceeding when Dr. Sambat Jitmaud, father of Salahuddin Jitmaud, forgave Trey Relford in a moving speech.
Trey Alexander
real fault. I feel so sad for you that you have to be in this situation. I wish I could help you, as I help my son to be a good citizen.
Dr. Jitmaud goes ahead to forgive Trey Relford.
No, I don't blame you. I'm not angry at you at all. I want you to know that. I forgive you on behalf of Salahuddin and his mother.
Despite the pain and tragedy, this moment is beautiful, and you can hear tears everywhere in the courtroom. Even the judge is moved. Trey Relford is sentenced to prison for 31 years. Up next is Camilla Gamet, a woman accused of stabbing her boyfriend to death. Gamet argued that it was self-defense and that her boyfriend attacked her first. She generally showed a nonchalant attitude, and during the sentencing, the judge let her have it.
You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead. You didn't think he was an intruder. You know, maybe one stab wound, okay. Maybe that's self-defense. But you put in 11 more to make sure he was good and dead. So I hope, I agree with the family. I hope you in prison as well.
Phew. Finally, she was sentenced to life imprisonment with no chance of parole. Next, we'll go into the peculiar case of Darrell Brooks, who was accused of homicide and reckless endangerment. He drove his SUV into a parade ground, killing 7 people and injuring about 6. His charges included 61 counts of recklessly endangering safety and 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide with the use of a dangerous weapon. Instead of Darrell Brooks allowing the court to appoint him a defender, he chooses to represent himself.
If you are allowed to represent yourself in this case, sir, you will not have attorneys assisting you. They are gone from this case. Do you understand that?
I think I will probably be better served representing myself.
All through the trial, Brooks becomes a menace, interrupting the judge and laughing at the witness when they're giving testimonies.
He told Erica that he was gonna find her and he was gonna kill her.
But perhaps the most dramatic moment of them all was when this man had a stare down with the judge.
I need to take a break. This man right now is having a stare down with me. It's very disrespectful. He pounded his fist. Frankly, it makes me scared.
Luckily, Brooks' reign of terror ends, and he's sentenced to prison with his 6 life sentences for the murder, as well as 17.5 years in prison for each of the 61 counts of reckless endangerment. That's more than a century in prison. Safe to say, he's not getting out anytime soon. If you enjoyed this video, click on other videos in the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.